Tonight, I want to just for time's sake. Does everybody know how to use a QR code? So you take out your phone to the photo, and if you could zoom in on this square, it's going to take you to a Google Doc that's going to have all the talk notes. We have videos on here. We're going to make it real simple so you can get it right on your phone. But there's a lot of information, nutrition resources, shopping list. I have an article there on the cell danger response. And we'll touch on all the things, but you just get your phone out, zoom in here with your photo. It'll give you a little link to click on, and that'll take you to a Google Doc. Now, if you guys don't get it, we're going to have this up at the end of the talk, so you'll be able to snag it at the end afterwards. Is it working? Did it work?
Yes.
All right. Look at me. Okay. So, and we'll have it up at the end. If you didn't get it, I apologize. We'll have it. So tonight, there are over 200 offices across the country giving lectures like this. And our philosophy is that the term doctor, does anybody know what the root of the word doctor means? Like if you get to the root, what does doctor mean? Teacher. Good job. Excellent. So doctor means teacher. I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience where you go to a doctor's office, you get some testing, and sometimes you feel more confused than when you walked in. We don't want that. We want you to be empowered. We want you to Google everything. Google absolutely everything we do. Don't believe a word we say. Do it. Do it, and you tell us if it works. Don't take it at face value. But this is happening across the country. Even in Canada, there's multiple clinics. And really our purpose is we want to be the standard for natural health care. The cat is out of the bag when it comes to Western medicine. It is. We used to have to really lecture 10 years ago, like, hey, it's not the best idea to take medications. The cat's out of the bag. People don't think that's a good long-term solution. I'll go more deep into the stats, but it's really, really expensive and it's not working well for us right now. And we want to divorce ourselves from that model and choose a new model. And that's really our purpose. Now, what really, if I were to be transparent with you, what our real purpose is, and I had a mentor take me through this thought process. He said, Cameron, like, what breaks your heart? Why are you in healthcare? Why do you do this? Like, what breaks your heart? And what breaks my heart is my brother saw, and this is why we're both chiropractors, we had family that got sick. And when you get sick, it sucks for you. I saw that. It doesn't just affect you, it affects your whole family. Vacations aren't the same. Christmas isn't the same. The people that we cared about most, our grandparents, we couldn't go to them for advice. They didn't get to see me get married. They didn't get to meet my kids. They were the people that we sought to for wisdom. That's who we went to, and they weren't there. And they were the ones that planned the vacations, paid for the vacations, and they weren't in our life anymore, and it left a giant hole. So when we were promoting this workshop, we had a lot of people say, well, I don't want to live to 100. Or I don't want, like some of you may have felt that. And I didn't want to judge, but a part of me was like, come on, like this isn't about you. There's people that care about you. There's people that depend on you. This is not a selfish act to be healthy. It's actually one of the most unselfish things you can do because you're a role model for other people and you can be there for other people that depend on you. Me and my wife, Michelle's, I don't know if you guys have this experience. Who here is married? So you have to have couple friends. You got to like both of them. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like I have like my friends, she has her friends, but then we have very few couple friends that we both get along with. And our closest couple friends are the O'Kellys. They live in Deer Creek. They're very good people. We have kids that are the same age, a 2, a 6, and an 8-year-old. So it just makes life easier. Our kids can play with each other. And they have, all their grandparents are still alive, but they have one, Chris's mom is, some of you may be this person. She's the grandmother that actually wants grandkids. She, you know what I mean? She likes to spend time with them. She'll babysit them whenever. You know what I mean? She's that one. The rest are kind of living their best life later in life. You know what I mean? They're like going on vacations. They're just not around. She's the one that's there for the grandkids. And this weekend, she was out gardening and dropped dead of a heart attack at 60 years old. 60 years old, no symptoms. And that, I'm seeing what they're going through. They're a wreck. And their grandkids are a wreck. Like they spending time with them. It's a mess. It's not fun to go through, but it breaks my heart because that's what we're here for. If you're waiting for the test to show you you're sick, that could be you. 50% of people that have heart disease, their first symptom is a heart attack or stroke. And for half of those people that have that symptom, they die. So the 25% of people, their first symptom of heart disease is death. We do not want to wait on a test to tell us that. Okay? And that's what tonight is about. So what are the big three? So who can tell me? So if we want to live a long time, we want to live to 100, we've got to avoid the big three killers. That would be a good step. What are the things that are going to get you? So what do most Americans die from? Number 2. So that's the number 2 cause of death. Heart disease is number 1. Stroke goes with here. Heart disease is kind of all cause cardiovascular. It's a type of accident, kind of. Man, usually somebody in the room knows this one. So we're going to get to that. You guys are really close. That's actually like number 4. Iatrogenic death.
What's that?
Physician-induced death. Okay, so don't blame me. Look that up. Physician-induced death is the number 3 cause of death. That means the right medication at the right time, the right surgery at the wrong time. And we'll get into I'm not saying that's the doctor's fault. They're not bad. The system is real. You're taking a first aid system that is set up for gunshot wounds and car wrecks, and you're trying to apply it to healthcare. And it's going to kill and it's going to hurt a lot of people. Okay? Now, somebody said diabetes. Diabetes feeds into all of these. I want to be very clear. And Dr. Callahan's really going to touch on this. This is why you're testing your blood sugar. If you have diabetes or you have pre-diabetes, your chances of heart disease go through the roof. You have diabetes, pre-diabetes, your chances of cancer go up. For the first time in American history, we are going to pass 2 million diagnoses of cancer this year. 2 million Americans are going to be diagnosed with cancer. We're on trend to pass that this year. Okay? So all of this is going to be addressed tonight. Okay? We are going to give you the tools to avoid these. These are extremely preventable. That's very clear in the research. It's clear in the cultural research that you are not born genetically for the most part. Maybe 0.5% of people have a strong genetic disposition. Over 99% of people, your future is in your own hands with these. It's fair enough, guys? Okay. So let's get in to the state of healthcare. And I'm going to just speak from a place of statistics. If you guys were to give us a grade right now, A, B, D, C, or F, do you think the United States would get like a C? Are we doing average, D?
F.
It's very F. Does everybody know? It's really bad. We're last. We're last place. Okay, so I'm going to take you through, guys, a couple of numbers. It's funny, but it's not funny. $13,000 per person on healthcare, $4.1 trillion. More than double the next country per capita. We spend a ton of money on healthcare. We get the worst return on investment. We are ranked 72 out of 72 countries in efficacy of our medical procedures. We have the lowest efficacy. Does everybody know what efficacy means? You did the right thing at the right time and it actually worked. That's efficacy. We're the worst in the world at that. We are, 1 in 5 children is on a medication for a chronic condition they'll never come off of. The average 6-year-old takes 13 medications. We are now at an 80% obese or overweight rate, 50% obese, 50% diabetes or prediabetes in this country. So just by running the numbers, I would say it's a little different because we're a chiropractic clinic and there's health-minded people here. But if this was a general population, we would just cut the room in half and you're pre-diabetic or diabetic in this country. Okay. We rank 37 out of 38 in all health outcomes of industrialized countries. In that study, we were ranked last or dead last in every single category. Okay. Yet, I want to be very clear, we have the best medical technology in the world, and we have the best medical specialist in the world. The more we spend on medical technology and the more we specialize, guess what happens to our health outcomes? They go down. Health outcomes go down. Now, I want to be very clear. Do you want to know who's speaking out about this more than anybody right now? Not chiropractors, not naturopaths. Patients are, and medical doctors are. Medical doctors are fed up, and it's usually the titans of, they call them the titans of the silos. So in the medical industry now, it's all siloed. You have ear, nose, and throat specialists, neurology, cardiology. It's all silos. And there's a war right now to make it more siloed. Can anybody tell me why they want more silos?
More specialty charges.
More money. So if you have diabetes and now you go to 4 specialists instead of 1 specialist, it's 4 times the income. And there's a war, and guess who's pushing back? It's the medical doctors are going, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. We're having all these specialists. So what we want to do is our job, me and Dr. Callahan's job is we want to subvert all of that and get to the root cause, because the root cause of 90% of disease is what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, so you can scrap all the specialists, cover your rear, cover your rear with these basics, and you're not going to have to see a specialist. Okay, you do not want to. I am very happy and grateful we have the system. If I were to get shot or get hit by a bus, I do not want to be in this system. Is everybody clear? Are we clear with that? Okay. So what is the healthcare system we promote? It's called the 5 Essentials. This is what we're all about here in the clinic. This is what we're experts on. This is what we read books on. We get continuing education on. We are going to worry about the spine. We're going to worry about your nutrition, your mindset, your exercise, and the toxins in your body. Those are the 5 pillars of health. I want you guys to hang with me here. This is really important. A lot of the reason we have to address these 5 things is modernity. It's modern living. 300 years ago, you didn't need to see a therapist. 300 years ago, you didn't need to go to a farmer's market. 300 years ago, you didn't really need a chiropractor because you weren't sitting all day. You weren't sitting in a car. You were working all day. 300 years ago, were there any Gold's Gyms around? 300 years ago, did you need a detox? Before industry, do you guys see these are problems of modernity we have to deal with? Now, the trade-off is we have antibiotics, and if you break your leg, you're not going to die. And you know, we have trade-offs there, but this is what we have to deal with modernity. This is what's killing us and making us not live to our potential. Life expectancy in the United States is down 4 years in a row for the first time in American history. Our life expectancy is going down, and health expectancy. So who are we going to look to? Does anybody know this guy? Bittner, right? So who saw the Netflix documentary Blue Zones? Pretty cool, wasn't it? I think it won a couple Emmys. If you guys have Netflix, I recommend you. I think it's called Living to 100 is what it's called. So he was a journalist that uncovered these cultures called Blue Zones that were the healthiest cultures in the world. People continually live to 100 years of age. And it's awesome. And they have a lot of things in common, and we can learn a lot from them. Now, here's the issue I have with the Blue Zones. The people that live in the Blue Zones, you live in Okinawa, Japan, you live in Sardinia, Italy, you live in Nicaragua, you don't have a choice how you're going to live. They live 100 years long because there's one way to live there, and it's the way they've been living for 1,000 years. Do you guys see? So it's a cultural thing, and you could move there and you could get their outcomes, but it's really hard to live this lifestyle in America. The other guy that is the longevity expert is a guy named Brian Johnson. Has anybody used Venmo on your phone? He invented Venmo. He sold it for $800 million. And then he took his own money and spent tens of millions of dollars to research longevity, and he is now considered the slowest olding human that we've ever tracked. They do it through gene and methylation testing. It's all done by science. It was a 3-year process, and it's science. So we're going to combine the culture of the Blue Zones with the most up-to-date scientist. He's known as the most tested man. He's had the most tests done on his body of any human. And we're going to find what works and what is molding together. And that's what we're going to use for the best information. Is everybody with me? We learned a ton building this workshop. So let's get into the longevity mindset. So what is the mindset? How do you need to think to make sure that you're going to live a long, healthy, vital life? The first, we're going to pose this as 4 separate questions. The first question I want to ask you guys is, Are you going to be an average American?
No.
Are we okay saying that?
No.
Are we okay saying you're not? What I'm saying is, are you okay saying that you're not going to be an average American? Okay, that is step number one. Is you do not want to be average in this culture. Right now, average is really bad. So you all said no, correct? Does that mean that you may need to do things that average people are not doing? This what's hard about not being average is when you're surrounded by people kind of living the average lifestyle, it's uncomfortable because you have to do things that the common people are not doing. I've seen it with my neighbors. We've seen it with our family. You have to stand out. You got to hold strong to your identity. But it comes back to, if you want what they have, then just do what they do. You know, if you want to, hang out with 5 smokers, you're going to be the 6th, right? That's the saying. Hang out with, 5 people that are addicted to something, you're going to be the 6th. So that's the first question. And you got to be okay with that answer, that we're not going to be average. But that means we're not going to be doing a lot of the same things that average people are doing. Unless you're hanging out and making friends with people here, right? Make some health buddies.
Yes.
Correct. What are your views on aging? Do you have a negative view on aging?
No.
That's great. So that's what they saw that was really important with the blue zones, is in those cultures, the elderly are seen as a gift. How cool is that? An extra set of hands to help out, somebody with immense amount of wisdom. How are the elderly viewed in our culture? We got to stick mom in a home, right? We got to spend a bunch of, you guys with, like, so your view and this is from the blue zones and Brian Johnson, aging is a positive experience, guys. And if you don't view it as positive and you don't look forward to it, they've seen your longevity outcomes are less. Why would you go do something you're actually not looking forward to? Right? We want to look forward to this process. That is key. I get it. Like, what do our patients say? Like, it sucks getting old. And what do we say? It's better than the alternative. Is absolutely better than alternative. You get another at bat. You get another swing. Let's try to do something better. Do you have agency over your future? Can you control what your future is going to look like? Can you control your longevity? Maybe. Why are you guys coming up? Why are you saying to a certain point? Why are you saying that?
Environmental factors.
Can you control your environmental factors?
Not the air that we breathe.
Right? So I get what you're saying. I see what you're saying to a certain point, but what is that point? So I want to go back, and this is what's weird, and I don't agree with this guy. This guy's a weirdo over here. He's super weird. Super smart. I've got a link to his website in the show notes. It's called Project Blueprint. He's super smart. Very odd guy. The reason he wants to live so long is his view is, as genetic and medical technology get better, if he can live long enough, he will live long enough to maybe live like 250 years. I don't agree with him. I think because as medical technology's gotten better, as we got more specialists, I haven't seen the outcomes but that's where he's going. Do you guys see where his mind is? He's betting on, in the next 50 years, they may have some type of genetic thing. Let's get back to the longevity mindset. So the point is, he's a person that thinks he has so much agency. If I can just live long enough, I can escape environmental factors. I can escape natural aging. I'm not saying I'm on board with that, but that's the level of agency he's buying into. Why that's important is look at the level of action he's taking. Spent over $10 million on testing his health. So agency tends to correspond to action. If you don't have any agency, why take any action? Now, I got to address this. I had a buddy who say, well, what about the old lady that drank 10 Dr. Peppers every day, ate sausage, and lived to 103? Do you guys know what I'm talking? It's like you can't kill these people. That's called the exception. I know there's a bunch of broke people that were terrible with money and spent $1 on a lottery ticket and won the lottery. That is not called a financial plan, right? That's called the exception.
Maybe it was his mom.
So we don't want to build our lifestyle off the exception. It happens. Those things happen. And the opposite happens. There's people that take great care of themselves and they die young jogging. We can't control that, guys. But we have agency and we can do what we can. Okay? Last question, and this is my favorite question for this. Is it worth the sacrifice? I'm not going to lie to you and tell you the things we're going to cover with you are not a sacrifice. It's easier to go eat in the short term, to go eat donuts, sit on the couch, and watch TV. That's an easier existence in the short term. Now, long term, I would tell you that's not going to be easier, but it takes sacrificing the present day for a better future. I heard this explained really well by Dr. Hollis. He's a Freudian psychologist. And this is just so perfect for me, just with raising kids. What he said is what we have to deal with in America, especially if you believe in a higher power, is we have our individual desires and our individual things that we want to do. You guys all agree. There's things we want to do individually. You woke up today. How do you decide what you're going to do? You have needs that you need met. But as humans and as believers, even if you believe in humanity, we also know that each day we want to do something for the good of everybody. Would you guys agree? And the bridge between doing something good for yourself and doing something good for other people, that bridge is called sacrifice. That means you may put some of your needs on the back burner to do better for other people and be better for other people. I would contend that doing the things we're going to talk about is a sacrifice and it's for other people. It's not just for yourself. Okay?
What's amazing about this is when we talk about sacrifice and changing what you're doing with your life to possibly live longer, it has an effect that's bigger than just the food you're eating, what you're drinking, the exercise you're doing, how you're sleeping. It's actually like medicine. Sacrifice is medicine. So it's so powerful, it can reverse the negative things that maybe you've done for 20 or 30 years. They have found this with stress. We know that emotional stress is something that will take years off your life. But they said there's one thing that they have found that reverses those negative effects of stress. So you can take two people that have stressed their whole life. One person did this for other people and they still stressed, but they didn't see the negative effects of it. So the person who's always helping other people, even though they might be in their own head all the time, stressed out, anxious type person, but they serve other people and they sacrifice for other people, it washes away the negative effects of that stressful life that they've led. So it's not just you sacrificing because it's going to be good for my health. It is powerful medicine to do what's good for not just yourself. So that's it. It's a double whammy. It's a win-win.
Very cool. The rascal 20% version of you is causing 80% of the destruction in your life. So we all have a little kid inside of us that doesn't want to play by the rules, that doesn't want to get out of bed, that doesn't, like I have it too, just like y'all do, but just know that's causing 80% of your problems. And the best coach I ever had, Ben Lerner, the guy that started Max Living, I would get on a coaching call with him once a month. And for an hour, he would tell me how I reminded him of his 5-year-old kid. And it was the best thing I needed to hear. He's basically telling me, you're not being a mature individual. It's time to grow up, Cameron. Guys, grown-ups don't drink Coke. Grown-ups don't drink Dr. Pepper. That's for kids. Candy is for kids. It's not for adults, guys. I'm being a Ben Lerner. It's because, a child doesn't know that's not, like if I see a kid doing it, it's not a kid's fault. You know better. You're an adult. Now, am I saying I love cake? I love those things. I enjoy them in moderation. If you're having a Dr. Pepper every day, that's your kid. That's getting the best of you. Okay? So I want to get the low-hanging fruit first. I also want to be vulnerable first with our first action step. This is what's going to kill Dr. Cameron. I don't sleep. I have an issue with sleep. I've had it my whole life. It is getting a lot better, but I want to touch on this first because as a guy, men in here, if you sleep good, you will add 5 years to your life. Women, you'll add 2 years to your life. Lack of sleep affects men over double than it affects women. Okay? So I want everybody to remember about sleep. QQRT. That extra R should not be in there. It's a typo. Yes. For whatever reason, women, I think it's because of the menopause, you guys are wired to do with less sleep. Men's cycle is based more off the sun. Women's cycle is based off what? The moon. And then you kind of disconnect from it when you go through menopause. But men are tied much more closely to night and day. Women, not so much. I'm not saying you're off the hook. It just, sleep deprivation affects men more than it does women. Okay? So when we're looking at sleep, 4 things we're going to look at. And this is what they only used to study was the quantity. You remember they used to ask, like, are you getting your 8 hours? You guys remember this? Oh, yeah. That's only a piece of the puzzle. 7 to 9 hours is the recommendation. Depends on your genes. But if somebody were to ask me how much am I sleeping it, or how much should I sleep? My answer should be you need about 90 minutes of sleep, more than you're getting.
More than you're getting?
Is everybody, typically, if somebody is asking about sleep, they need about 90 minutes more than they're getting. So somebody may be getting 6 hours. If they were asking me, I was like, you need 90 minutes more. Somebody could be getting 8 hours. I would say you need 90 minutes more. Typically, if you're feeling like you do need more sleep, you need about 90 more minutes. Okay. But 7 to 9 hours is the recommendation. Quality of the sleep, we want it to be continuous. So the recommendation is that you do sleep alone if possible. Like just for sleep purposes. I'm married, but you want to sleep next to your significant other, but for sleep purposes, you should sleep alone.
Who should you probably not sleep with? That's not
Dog. Yeah. Dogs.
typically people that have sleep issues. It's not just them that's the problem. It's their environment that they're sleeping in. Multiple kids in the bed with them, multiple dogs that are making noises and things like and I get it, but it's important to change that environment if you have to.
So quality sleep is just as important of quantity of sleep. So if you're getting 9 hours, but you're getting woken up every 2 hours, that quality is going to drastically affect your body, your healing, and your longevity. It takes about 3 hours of uninterrupted sleep to get to REM, which is the deeper sleep cycles, rapid eye movement. And that's where your brain detoxes emotions. That's where a lot of good brain stuff happens. And if you're constantly being woken up, you're going to deprive yourself of that. It's really going to stress you out and affect your health. Okay? So quantity is important, quality. Regularity, this is a new finding over the last 2 years, is just as important. That you want to go to bed and wake up each day, give or take 30 minutes from every other day. Is everybody with me? So it's not good to go to bed at 9 one night and then 11 o'clock the next night, and then 8 o'clock and then 10 o'clock. Regularity. So you want to kind of pick it and stick with it within reason. I know nobody's perfect, but the goal is to try to set it up. This is what I've gotten. This has helped me tremendously. I've gotten better at this. It's helped me tremendously. And then timing. And this is super cool. There are 5 different chronotypes, and this is genetically based. It's 5 different people, how you are, your timing in life is. So who knows let me give you guys the categories. There are extreme early people, neutral, late night people, late like night owls. Those are the 5 flavors of chronotype. So who knows they're extreme morning person, like 4 o'clock in the morning? So let me phrase this question better, guys. Okay? Here's how you're supposed to phrase this question. Say you were stranded on a desert island by yourself. Now you're like, okay, you don't have to work. You have all the food you need. There's nothing to stress about. You've got a home, but it's just you on a desert island with the sun coming up and the sun going down. What time would you wake up?
When the sun comes up.
Would that be 6? So if you wake up with the sun, you would be considered not the extreme early person, but kind of early to neutral. Who would sleep past the sun? They know that you would. So if you know that, like you would consider your chronotype would either be late night or extreme late night if you could sleep past when the sun comes up. Okay, I've attached a test. It's a free test in those notes that you guys took a picture of, and you can take and find out your chronotype. Why this is important is our society has really said like the early riser is the right type, and it can hurt a lot of people. if your chronotype is a late night person, don't put a square peg in a round hole. Get enough sleep, but get it your way. That may mean going to bed at 11 and waking up at 9 or 8 o'clock. That's fine. But don't let society tell you that's not okay to do. This is completely genetically based. It's based off your genes.
Will the bosses accept that?
Yeah.
This front row is full of comic relief today. Yeah, that's right. Here's the deal. If somebody showed me a test, I'd be willing to work with them. Somebody like, this is a health place. I want you to be healthy. Now, that means you're going to be here cleaning the office when everybody's sleeping, right? Okay. So what's the low-hanging fruit on how we're going to improve this? Number one is consistent bed and wake time. I cannot stress this enough. And if you know you have sleep issues, what I've been taught and the only way I've been able to fix this is it's got to be your number one priority. Everything else goes on the back burner. Sleep is paramount. Sleep is the glue that holds all the other health actions together. Does that make sense? Working out's not as effective. Eating good's not as effective. Detoxing's not effective. The best detox, the best nutritional, the best way to manage your blood sugar is sleep. Sleep is the glue that holds health together. Avoid using electronics before bed. Is anybody guilty of this? I've got to put it in another room. If it's somewhere near me, I'm going to get on it, and so I'm going to leave that at that. But get off them if you can. Have a plan, have a place. Best if they're outside of your bedroom. Keep your bedroom as dark and cool as possible. 67 to 69 degrees is the optimum temperature. You'd rather the room be cold and have a blanket on you. And I'm speaking from a lot of experience, a lot of literature, and you want it as dark as humanly possible. No alcohol or caffeine close to bedtime. Alcohol especially alcohol destroys your sleep. That's really bad for sleep quality. Marijuana, THC is also really bad for sleep quality. And then like I said, we want to sleep alone, and then we're going to exercise regularly. We're about to get into exercise. What questions do we have on sleep, guys?
What makes alcohol and THC bad for sleep?
It messes with your brain waves while you're sleeping. So you fall asleep easier. So what it's going to do, it's going to increase your quantity. You're going to sleep more. Your quality is going to go way down. And they know this through brain studies. So what I recommend is, I have a whole cocktail I recommend if you do need to go to sleep. We have a sleep formula here, that 5-HTP. It's super strong. Or we have melatonin gummies paired with CBD that are excellent. Our recommendation, though, is to try to wean yourself off of them. We don't want to become dependent on anything for sleep. We have 3 young kids. My wife is now we're trying to wean her off melatonin because she had to take it. Her sleep was so screwed up from her last son. But that's something we're going to use as a tool and then try to come off of it. Okay.
You say, like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh man, 20, 30 more minutes, and then you go back to sleep or you hit snooze or whatever. Would you say that it's not really helping?
Correct. The recommendation I've had is bite the bullet, get up, and go to bed early that night. It is. You have young kids too, right?
2 of them.
2, yeah. So you would rather nap for 27 minutes in the middle of the day, catch a nap over lunch or something, than hit the snooze button. There's no benefit to that late morning sleep. Yeah. Yeah.
Disco nap is what I call it.
Yes.
REM sleep, does that mean you're dreaming?
Yes.
Okay, so if you fall asleep, you wake up, you go back to sleep, and you're immediately in REM, is that unusual? Where you're dreaming?
No. No, it's not super unusual.
You just did a good job of,
Yeah.
keeping your eyes half
Yeah.
open while you went pee.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a red flag. If you haven't been dreaming, like we've talked to patients who haven't dreamed in 10 years, that's a big red flag.
Maybe they don't remember. That's what I have.
You-
You dream, you just don't remember.
With consistent deep sleep, you should remember your dreams. This is how sleep deprived our society is.
Lucid dreaming. What about
Yes.
Okay, so I'm noticing y'all aren't wearing Apple Watches. Everyone's wearing an Apple Watch, and it's telling them, well, first of all, you're wearing a freaking computer on your body, which you're telling us not to use electronics. I quit wearing the Apple Watch because I felt that it was detrimental to my health.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's got those Apple Watches and they're checking to see about their sleep, and they're not sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer's right there. We shouldn't be wearing people shouldn't be wearing their freaking Apple Watches.
I'm wired that way. I'm not a tracker type of person. There are people that do like to leverage those things. It doesn't fit with my personality though.
So you wear one?
No, it does not fit with my
Okay.
personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would stress more about it
Yes.
and get than any
Yes.
information I would get from it that would be beneficial.
Right.
But there are people that I'm not a calorie counter either. Typically, people that like to track things that are more data driven, they like. And there's no judgment. There's no right or wrong way. It's more your temperament and what's going to serve you best on the health journey.
But it's dangerous because you've got that device.
Yes.
in
The
your
the jury is still out on that. No, I'm not disagreeing. They've done studies. You wear a phone in the same pocket all the time, they're going to see tissue damage in that area. So we do know that for sure. Is there a future law?
Yeah.
But they're seeing bone loss in areas where people use it. So I don't know. I keep it away from my body.
Why are we
Is-
making these techies more money?
Good question. Let's all move out on a farm. Just do it. Okay. All right, guys. How true is this? Does anybody else resonate with this? So there's a really cool concept that I learned that say you're a late night person, but you're really not. You're just kind of up because you can't go to sleep. You may be snacking or watching Netflix or whatever. If you can just go to bed and cut that last hour off and then add that hour here, think how much more productive your life would be. Does anybody wake up first thing in the morning and eat potato chips and watch Netflix? Nobody does that, right? So think of what do you do in the morning? You get a cup of coffee, you enjoy nature, you journal, you do positive things the first thing in the morning. One of the most powerful things is if you cut that last hour off and tack it in early morning, life gets a lot more full. Okay, this is how my life is. What mom tell you? Nothing good ever happens after midnight, right? There's a lot of moms were right.
So, but in the real world, you can't cut this off and add it, right? So how do you do that? How do you actually flip that to where you're spending less time up at night and more time up in the morning? You start at the morning. You don't start trying to go to bed earlier. That's tough. But if you wake up early in the morning, it's going to help you go to bed the next day. So many people try and get better sleep by going to bed earlier. But if you don't worry about when you're going to bed and just wake up early, at the same time, start consistency with that and doing good things in the morning, going to sleep, you'll have less time for Netflix and potato chips.
All right.
You got a question?
When I get up, and if I take, we're talking about the phone.
Mm-hmm.
If I would go to bed and be messing with it, then I can't go to sleep. And I have learned that and quit doing it. And I get up in the morning, and if I pick up this to start with, it messes up the rest of my day. I use too much time in it. So I just leave it alone, get my prayer in, and get the day going.
It's a good TED Talk right there.
Yeah,
It's
for
good. Be careful where you get your first. Be careful where you get your first dose of dopamine in life in a day. You get your first dose of dopamine from here. That's not a good day. Okay, so let's get into exercise, guys. That was one of the big parts of Sleep Right, regular exercise. If you do not exercise 3 or more days a week, you are considered sedentary. Okay? This is an adult conversation. You're a sedentary individual. When we talk about all the bad stats, America's too sedentary. That is you. You got to exercise at minimum 3 days a week. That's the minimum. Except, why is that? If you exercise 2 days a week, you don't get any benefit. There's really they can't study. There's no long-term benefits in any studies. 1 day a week, there's no long-term benefits. The key with exercise, just like sleep, is consistency. Both the blue zones and the creepy guy that's aging slower than anybody, guess what they have in common? How many days a week do you think they exercise? 7 days a week. The recommendation is 7 days a week. I will give you a day of rest, 6 days a week, but 6 to 7 is by far the best in the literature. Backs it up. 6 to 7 days of exercise a week. 4 to 5 is almost get you there. It's pretty close. 2 to 3, almost no benefit. 2 to 3 days of exercise. Everybody with me? Now I'm gonna jump into this, and we're gonna go deep into exercise. And in my opinion, working with patients, if you can do this, this is the hardest thing to do. This is what we call a keystone habit. If you can do this keystone, everything's easier. Your nutrition's easier. Sleep is easier. Everything is easier if you can do this. This is the hardest. Is everybody with me? This is the most difficult. If you can tackle this, your health journey will be tremendously easier. Okay? I want you to start viewing exercise as a stimulus. That's what it is. We are stimulating the nervous system, you're stimulating your blood cells, you're stimulating your body. That is how we're going to view exercise. The question is what is the right stimulus? What is the right mix of stimulus for you to live to 100 years of age? Is it cardio? Is it going for a jog? Is it weight training? Is it yoga? Is it Pilates? Is it sprinting? It's all of that. But what's the right dose then? Should you jog 6 days a week and power lift 1 day a week?
What about the resistance training in there?
Sure hope not, huh?
Here.
There's the people that jog a lot. They seem to have more knee problems later in life. And I've got a sister that started jogging a long time ago. Now she's 10 years younger than I am, and she's got knee problems. I've got a knee problem once in a while, but I put a weight on my foot and
So
move it.
you guys are gonna know how to exercise.
Oh,
Okay? But I appreciate all the input. I do want to know what's the benefits of exercise?
Circulation.
Heart rate? Why do we want our heart rate up? Oxygen's huge. So diseases cannot thrive in an oxygen-rich environment. What else is exercise good for?
Building muscle mass.
Muscle mass is huge. For aging, it's probably one of the biggest things for aging is muscle mass, grip strength. You want to die early, have a weak grip, be weak. What else does exercise do? Gets blood circulation. So it's good for cardiovascular health, mobility, mood. No combination of antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds have ever been studied that have been stronger than consistent exercise in the literature. We were meant as a species to move. Okay? Moving is medicine. It's great for bone density, joint health. It's good for detox. It's excellent. So what are we going to do? What is the best type of exercise? First type is the type you enjoy. What do you like to do? So Andrea, do you mind if I use you as an example? Sure. So, and you like to play tennis, correct? Anybody else like tennis in here? Just so we're clear, tennis, ping pong, pickleball, no exercise is better for longevity than hand-eye coordination paddle sports if you're picking a sport. Okay, it's good for your brain health. Nothing holds a candle. Jogging, nothing. Tennis, pickleball, it's hand-eye coordination. I'm sorry? Piano, that's not a sport, but yeah, we can do that too. All right. So how many hours a week do you do tennis?
8 to 10.
8 to 10 hours. Okay, so this is great. Andrea has decided that she is willing to commit 8 to 10 hours to exercise, which is outstanding. 7 hours is pretty. I mean, this is master's level athlete. I'm at around 7 hours, so mom's beat me like usual. Do you do anything else besides tennis, or is pretty much walk? Great. Okay. So she's made it to step 1 for aging. I'm going to be Andrea's a patient. I'm going to go, that's excellent, Andrea. Do you want to improve though? Do you want to live longer?
Yeah.
So we're going to break this down. Now we're going to do, this is what you should enjoy. So now I'm going to build a program for, and this is what you should like. Is everybody with me? I'm going to tell you, if you want to live long, you want to be the fittest person on the tennis court, I'm going to break down how you should break down, let's just call it 8 hours of exercise a week. So first thing each of you has to ask yourself, how much time are you willing to commit a week to exercise from an hour standpoint? Is it 1, 2? I want to be very clear. I have no judgment. Because if it's low, we're going to go over a strategy too. For some of you, it's maybe an hour a week, and there's a way to do that too.
I think your goal should be what's minimum required. I mean, 7 to 8.
Okay, so we're going to,
Your goal.
but this is for each of you to answer tonight, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense? You guys got to decide this. It could be 4, whatever, but once you pick that number, this is going to be the equation we're going to do. So with Andrea's 8 hours, this is what we have to work with. 4 of these hours should be on strength training. Resistance training, bands, walking with a weight, lifting weights, machines at the gym, resistance, carrying something. This is going to make you look good. It's going to make you feel good. It's going to be good for your joints. It's going to help you build more mitochondria. You're going to have energy. Is everybody with me? So the number you picked, cut that in half. That's how much you should be doing resistance training. Okay. You are going to feel like $1,000,000 when you do this. Get a $10 Planet Fitness membership, 10 gym. You know how they have all the machines set up? Just go through all of them twice. Hit every body part.
What about those who are medically unable to do those things?
Can I give an example
Me.
of what's the medical reason?
Shoulders, knees.
What?
That's not the song.
So what happens if you were to do a light press?
It pulls on my back, and that's what I'm here to do. Is
Yeah.
heal. I'm not here just to get adjusted. I'm
Yeah.
here to heal so I can get that circulation and do that. But when I go to pull, it's my neck and my shoulder. I have anchors, and then
So you've had surgery?
I have.
You okay?
Yeah.
So we'd have to find some type of resistance.
Water.
That water would be good. That doesn't really.
I love swimming. Swimming is my thing.
The only issue I have with swimming is it doesn't really fully fill this category. We would do bands, some type of banded movement. Can you carry something and walk with it?
Kind of.
Like a 5-pound weight?
Walking, I'm working on because I had knee surgery.
So we all have, like, this is an extreme case. Do you know what I mean? But this is your responsibility to find the resistance training that you can do.
That's why I came here.
Right. So you could work. Who's your doctor? Dr. Ben? Dr. Ben? You gotta. So this is why you hire us. You don't worry about this. Have Dr. Ben worry about this. Okay. But this is your responsibility.
Dr. Ben will carry the weight.
Yes. You're full of it tonight. I see. Okay. Is everybody with me? Half the time resistance training. Okay. Then we're going to take the remainder time. 80% of the remainder of the time should be zone 2 cardio. Can anybody give me a good definition of zone 2 cardio? How do you know you're in zone 2 cardio? It's excellent. You can have a conversation. Speed walking, a light jog, riding a bike, rowing, swimming, but your heart rate isn't too high to where you could have a conversation. So I would ask you, Andrea, could you have a conversation playing tennis? Most of it you could?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So what would we consider tennis?
I would say right there.
Zone 2 cardio.
If
So
you're playing hard.
you may dip into then the remaining 20% of time is going to be VO2 max training. That is HIIT training. That is working out so hard you feel like somebody's chasing you with a poison dart. That's how fast you're running. Okay, so for me, 1 day a week, I do sprints, 100-meter sprints. And I do it as fast as I can. And it's not, you guys see, it's not a lot. What's sad, and this is what's hard, is 95% of people after age 30 will never sprint a day in their life again. And it's not something we should be doing every day, but we should be doing 20% of this 4 hours that's left over, VO2 max. So you can do this on an air assault bike, a bicycle. You can run in place as fast as you can, but you need to be getting your heart rate high enough where you can't have a conversation. Okay? The easiest way to do it is to run fast. Okay? So here's what if Andrea did this, she would maybe get a little less enjoyment because she likes playing tennis so much, but she would feel better. Is everybody with me? She would feel better. She would age better. This would be the plan. I would recommend this plan. Does anybody have what questions do we have about this?
Yeah, so what's better? Obviously, there's an ideal. You said 6 to 7 days a week. So let's just, for simple math, go 7 days, 7 hours. Is it better to do 1 hour every day and be more consistent, or to do 3 days that are all 2 hours and 20 minutes? Or
The consistent every day, by far.
okay.
Yeah.
Even if it's, so now let's cut the numbers down a lot more. So 15 to 20 minutes a day.
Correct.
Versus
So
longer and your heart building up longer.
correct. So let's bring up a good point. Let's say it's time constraint. The biggest thing I hear why people don't exercise is what? Time. So if we're going to be time constraint, we're going to scrap this. Okay, is everybody with me? We're going to forget about this. Now,
My question is, when people tell me that, I ask them if you've got time to watch TV, then you've got time to get up off your butt.
now we're talking. So,
Used to be the front row. Just turn your chairs
Yeah,
around.
we got sass tonight. We got some sass. I like this.
They've all met here.
Yeah. What-
Exactly. I've also read that if you're exercising more than 3 days a week, it's not beneficial.
I disagree with that completely. Yeah. You can exercise too much. I would say more than 90 minutes. That's not a good plan per day. I like to keep it under 45 minutes an hour at the most per dose. You start to get a cortisol spike. You get a stress release of hormones. So this is why you don't want to, you go to a marathon, you see the older people that are running marathons, they don't look good. They have a lot of stress hormone. You run for 3 hours straight, your body's going to release stress hormone. So let's say we're under time constraint. The best thing you could do is scrap what I just said and do all VO2 max training. 12-minute HIIT exercises every day. You go on YouTube, you put in HIIT, high intensity interval training. You can put in 10 minutes, you put in 12 minutes. You do that every day. That's going to be the best return on your investment, and the medical literature is very clear on that.
You can do it, David.
You do that every day.
You can also do that in water classes.
Yeah.
I do that in water classes.
To where you can't even catch your breath. It's so hard.
If you push
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah. What was that, Danette?
You can put VO2 in max and it's going to come up.
Yeah, put VO2 max training in YouTube or HIIT, HIIT, and then put the time you have. It's great. I got 15, put 15 minutes in the YouTube, and you'll have a professional, somebody who knows what they're doing. They'll do a warm up, they'll do HIIT training.
How can you tell if they're professional? There's a lot of crazy.
If they got 6 million views on YouTube, it's good. If there's a lot of views, it makes it to the top. That's how competitive YouTube is now. The top views, they're good. They know what they're doing because it's all monetized now.
that's every day, 5 days or something.
I would do that 7 days a week, 6 to 7 days. I believe in a day of rest, to some degree. Okay,
So your VO2, how many minutes did you say that
12.
would be?
12.
12.
Yeah, you want to do 12
Right?
per day. Has anybody ever done 12 minutes a day of HIIT training? You feel you get so much energy, you feel good, your mitochondria gets going. You will feel good if you do that. And your knees won't hurt.
Explain the mitochondria.
So mitochondria, we're going to get deeper into this. That's what makes the ATP in your cell. It's what makes energy. Okay? What VO2 max does is it kills off old mitochondria. So your body makes new mitochondria when you do that intensive sprint training. So if you don't sprint and you don't do that intense training, you hold on to old mitochondria that is not good at making energy. Strength training and zone 2 training, they do different things. They make you make more mitochondria. You don't replace old one. You just make new mitochondria when you do that type of training. But mitochondria is real important for aging, and it's real important for energy. Very good question. Okay. what if time is an issue? We've answered that. VO2 max. We want to do short bursts of high intensity training. The other way to go about this is just own a farm. Like that's called non-exercise induced. What's the acronym for it? Non-exercise thermogenic effect, NETA. So what it is, they found, this is what people in the blue, there's no gyms in the blue zones, but they're chopping wood, they're doing stuff all day. And blue zones are typically in very mountainous regions. When they go visit their neighbor, they got to walk up the hill. And so they get this non-exercise thermogenic effect in their body. That's really good for health. Okay. So I don't want to, like, if you guys don't want to go to the gym and do that, that's fine. Just live on a homestead and live like we lived 300 years ago, or go hunt down an animal or something like that. Okay. The biggest exercise mistake that we see is, hey guys, if you're sedentary, just start walking. The biggest exercise mistake we see is when people get too gung-ho. So start small, start walking, just start moving your body. Like what I would do is I would just say, I'm going to exercise for 7 hours this week, and it's going to be 7 hours of walking if I'm not exercising. Start there and then build on that. Okay? So don't make that mistake. What questions do we have on exercise, guys, before we move on?
Is there a detrimental time to exercise too close to bedtime?
For sure. Great point. Yeah. Never. The rule of thumb is like 2 p.m. at the latest. I try to do mine all before noon, but it's definitely going to affect your sleep. Here's what's hard is I've had to have this conversation with patients where that's the only time they can exercise. Thank God we've talked about that with night shift work. So it's a kind of a trade-off to where you know you need the exercise. Then we got to use, like, maybe we need some sleep aids to make sure you can get to sleep after exercising. But the issue with the exercise is typically it's hard to wind down and you can't go to sleep. Did I answer your question with that? Good.
I didn't know if there was like a typical time, like no later than 2 hours before bed. Or
2 p.m.
4 hours before bed. Because, we work, so it's 5 or 6 o'clock.
That's going to be tough. So what I would do is I would try it and see if you can go to sleep. You may be so damn tired after exercise that you just fall right asleep, So I would experiment with it. But the only detriment is that you can't go to sleep of exercise. So if you can exercise late and go to sleep, there's real no detriment to it.
I used to have to, I set my alarm and got up an hour early and would exercise before work. I'd go walk before work.
We don't like bragging here. That would be the idea. To get up earlier and exercise would be.
He's not on the
It's trickling back.
That is good behavior. Yes.
Or quit your job.
Yeah.
That's the problem since I quit my job. I'm a lazy person.
Heart rate got higher than what it should be for your zone, but that became different.
Maybe too fast too soon, but it's more, remember, it's the dose. So where people running into problems with CrossFit is they were doing VO2 max training for 45 minutes for 6 days a week. And that's too much VO2 max. It's all about the stimulus dose. Everybody, that's real important. And then walking we do not walk enough as Americans. That can count as zone 2 training. If you do need to speed it up a little bit though. Okay, but I'm okay with you walking even if it's not zone 2 training. So
I love the way when I'm out walking, people stare at you. They're like, oh. Did her car break down?
Yeah. Are you walking near like cannabis stores or the people? Yeah. Okay. Very interesting evening tonight. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into your lifeline. Dr. Kelly, can you grab me the spine? We're going to do an anatomical tutorial. This is very important. We're chiropractors. We're biased. We chose chiropractic because the nervous system is the master control system of the body. It controls all your function. That comes from central nervous system. So I want you guys to be experts on this. This is your central nervous system. And what we have is the brain here. Your central nervous system continues into the top of the neck in the form of your brain stem. And then it snakes its way all the way down to your sacrum and pelvis. That is all still central nervous system. Do you guys see the hole in the top of that bone? You've got a hole all the way down through your spine that contains the central nervous system tissue. Now, a couple of things we've got to learn about central nervous system tissue. It is very tender. It's very soft. It's not very durable. Is everybody with me? It's very prone to injury. That's why you got a bony structure around it. It also, central nervous system tissue, what I just went over with you, does not heal. You guys with me? If it does, it's very low. It takes years. That's why you don't heal from a spinal cord injury. So if you get in a car wreck and you break your neck, that tissue is not healing. So we got to be very careful with this, and we got to take care of this. This is real important. This tissue does not heal. It controls all functions in your body, controls your hormones, controls your sleep pattern. It coordinates everything. It is a communication system in your body. Now, when we look at your spine, it's a dichotomy. We want it to be flexible, right? But it's got to be stable at the same time. That's why spinal health is so hard. We want flexibility with stability. And that's what we've got to accomplish. Now, it is hard to accomplish through injuries, through modernity, through sitting, through driving in a car. All the things that we do these days, not being strong enough, not lifting enough weights, not being athletic enough. And it's gonna affect our organs if this is damaged, and we're gonna have health issues. We want to avoid nervous system health issues. So how do we attack this here in the clinic? We attack it with a mix, which is like a stretching protocol to increase mobility. Then we're going to adjust it, put it in the right alignment, and then we're going to end the process with a setting procedure to build that spinal stability. Is everybody with me? That's the process we use here. Guys, that's good chiropractic care. That's very good. If you ever go to a chiropractor somewhere in the future, they're not going through this process. It's mediocre. You need to go through this process for good chiropractic care. Now, I want to cover some things with you guys, really important stuff that go beyond what we do here in the clinic, and you guys are going to get them today. There are links to all of this in those notes. Go there, watch these videos. I am going to demonstrate all these things for you. No making fun of me up here, okay? First thing we're going to do together, this comes from one of Dr. Callahan and mine's professors. Super cool guy. He invented these postural exercises. They're called the three flying friends. We go to schools and teach these to kids. And his pitch to us, and I think this is true, he said this world would be so much better if people did postural exercises. The health of this world would be amazing. People would have more confidence. People would think better about themselves. So everybody stand up for me. Yeah. All right, we're going to start with our first flying friend. It's called the eagle. We're going to breathe in. Get real tall. On the way out, come back down. Watch out for your neighbor. Do that 3 times. Good job, guys. No complaining. I like this. Next one. The birds get smaller as you go along. So we have the big eagle, and we get the hummingbird. Arms, elbows up. Give yourself some room if need be. Change your angle. And you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Roll them back. And we can do the happy hummingbird if you got room. Yeah. Got it? Guys, get those on. Again, the bragging. All right. Last flying friend is really little. Butterfly. Interlock your fingers. You have a little bump on the back of your skull called the EOP. That's where you want the middle of your hands. And you're going to just look up, try to drive your skull back into the floor behind you. Good job. Take a break. Let's get Rep number 2. Drive that, look up. Take a break. And look up. Okay, everyone face this wall. Massage the shoulders of the person in front of you. Get those knots. Find the sore spots. Get in there. Yeah. Right on top of the shoulder blades. Get in there. Okay, turn around and return the favor. All right, guys, grab a seat. Good work.
Oh, that was good.
Okay. You guys ready? So for neck pain and strengthening the neck, what we just did is excellent. We're integrating our shoulder blades, our arms, our shoulders into our neck. The last piece we want to do for neck posture, if you have any neck pain or headaches, is we're going to put our hands underneath our chin, sit up in good posture, and I'm going to just nod my head straight down into the resistance of my hands. I'm not flexing forward with my spine. This is all the little muscles up near your skull, the top of your neck. You should feel it there. You're going to hold for 10 seconds. Good. That is 1 rep. With all of these, we're going to do something called the Russian pyramid. Has anybody heard of the Russian pyramid? This is cool. It's a good rehab pyramid. So the first set, you do 5 sets in the Russian pyramid. The first set, you'll do 5 reps. Second set, you'll do 4 reps. Third set, you do 3, 2, 1. So the first rep of those chin tucks, you would do 5 10-second holds. Then you take a little break. And then do 4 10-second holds. Then 3 10-second holds. 2 10-second, and then end with 1 10-second hold. That's called a Russian pyramid. They found it to be really good in working the deep core, like postural muscles. Okay? If you can't do 10 seconds, you could start off with 5 seconds. Okay? Everybody get this one down?
So 5 reps.
5 reps at 10 seconds would be the first set. And then the second set, you do 4 at 10 seconds. Okay? The next one, you guys cannot make fun of me for showing you these exercises. We're going to do what's called the McGill Big 3. We're going to start integrating these into our clinic. These are the most efficacious low back exercises. If you do them right, they are extremely hard. They work really well. Okay? So we're going to start with the first one. It's called the bird dog. Who's heard of the bird dog? Be on all fours, and you've got to do this right. The goal is to stabilize the spine. With any postural exercise you can do, you want to make a fist. When you make a fist, it's going to drive more neural pathways from your brain to your body. These are not muscular exercises. These are meant for your brain to talk to your body. Is everybody with me? These are neuromuscular exercises. So I'm going to make a fist, and then the opposite leg is going to go down. I'm going to point my heel, and I shouldn't be level like this. This is not a good bird dog. It should be like half an X. Does everybody see this? I'm going to hold for 10 seconds. Then keeping my spine stable, I'm going to touch and come back out, making a fist. Do these right. They're extremely hard. There would be video, just so you guys know, there's videos of these. If you have low back pain, and you will not have low back pain after you do these. Okay? Then you would do the other side. Point your heel. I'm pushing into the ground. I don't want to be relaxing. I don't want to be arching this leg way up. This is a stabilization exercise. Okay? There are multiple videos on that document if you guys want to do those. Okay?
We did that in Pilates also.
All right. Side plank.
Without
This
an
is
apple box.
Side plank. You should start with your knees bent on your elbow. I'm going to come up and bring my pelvis forward. Forward. And hold. None of this. None of this. Okay. Hold for 10 seconds. Take a break. You can make it more difficult. The true RX way is this. Is the true side plank. Okay. Okay. The last in the McGill 3 is called the curl up. One knee will be up. Both hands will be under the low back. You're going to brace the spine and just barely lift your head up. The lower your head is, the harder this is. This makes it easier. Okay? I'm just going to try to lift my chest up. Brace for 10 seconds. I'm already sweating. Okay? Very difficult exercises, but they will, if you have low back pain, you will not have low back pain. Okay? Do that every day.
Now, where do you find that?
That's on the show notes that you took the QR code.
Okay, I never got it.
We'll have it up at the
I
end.
turned my phone off, so, okay.
We'll get that to you, Jill.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
'Cause that's what's hurting.
Okay, last thing. That is for low back pain, sciatica, stuff going down your legs, or pain here. What about this pain here? Does anybody have this weird, really low back pain? That's usually from a glute medius weakness, which we see on a lot of patients. You'll know because you have knots all on the top of your rim. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like you have pain right here. You're going to point your toe down in front of you and come straight up and hold. This is also in the notes. And this looks really weird. I know. It is killing my glute medius though. Point down and come straight up as high as you can and hold for 10 seconds. Okay. You do that in Pilates too, I'm sure. Yeah. All right. That is for the extreme low back pain. I'm going to take my shoes off now. Okay. Forgive me. This is really important for longevity. So, there's been a lot of literature coming out on longevity and big toe strength. Big toe strength. This is real important. Okay, so we want to have nice wide toes. So one exercise we're going to do is just try to hold your toes apart. And I wasn't good at this at first, and spread them out. And like my foot is cramping doing this. You're trying to spread all your toes out. First thing you'd say is, can you do that? Can you spread your toes apart? Some of you may not be able to. If you can't, you're going to put your big toe down. I'm like, just try to spread your toes out. Okay? So I'm going to do this here. I'm going to try to spread it out for 10 seconds. And then I'm going to take a break. Can't do it, can you? So if you can't do this, you need to do these exercises. Okay? This is important for balance. This is going to help your ankles, your knees, your hips, and your low back if your feet are stronger. The second thing is, can you lift your big toes up without the other toes coming up? Yep. Can you do this? Okay.
For 10 seconds.
For 10 seconds, you would hold it up. Okay. Yes. Okay. I know this seems like a small thing, guys, but it does. I want to be clear why the toe stuff is important. It does two things. One, it's going to make your feet strong, which is going to be good, like I said, for your ankles, your hips, your knees, and your back. It's a good orthopedic practice. And you want to age, guys, I work on feet all day. You don't want bad feet as you age. You don't want the hammer toe. You don't want to have bunion. You don't want that. It's not good for balance. It's painful. You don't want a foot surgery, period. You just don't want one.
You don't want an ankle fusion.
You don't anything down here. You really don't want to if you don't have to. So that's one part of it. But the second part of it, and this is why they think the big toe strength is so important for longevity, is it because it challenges your distal nervous system. These are the furthest nerves from your brain. You guys, so we don't activate them a lot, so we lose the ability to activate them and then become weak, and it makes this weak. So this gets a lot of feedback from all the other parts of your brain, and if your big toe isn't strong, it's lacking the feedback. So it's orthopedic and neurological. Okay? Spread your toes. Practice spreading your toes, and then try to lift your big toe up.
How about holding your other toes down and then working it?
It just takes practice. It took me literally 3 days before I could get my big toes up doing this.
There's a thing called yoga toes.
Mhm. Like the spacers.
The spacers.
Yep.
And that has helped me tremendously to get my toes to spread.
You can do that with your fingers on your toes too.
Yep.
So Andy wears these that keep her. Watch her pick up her toes. Look at her, my shoes off. I have to take my shoes off.
So we'll all
You didn't need to take your shoes off.
Don't need to. Right?
Yes.
Amazon is going to have those are out of stock in 12 hours.
Correct. Correct. So I couldn't do it for 2 days, and now I can do it. Yes. They need to be on the floor. The other ones need to be on the floor. Yeah. Yes. So this is so we're now out. That's a very good question. This is all for nervous system health. It's a different practice. So ideally, we wouldn't be in this situation. Our feet would be stronger. We wouldn't have to do these exercises if we were barefoot or wore minimal shoes like we were designed to do. But I grew up wearing casts. If you wore regular shoes, you walked around with casts around your feet. You didn't get feedback from the ground. I can go through. You guys see we wear weird shoes here. It's because we want our soles to be really flexible, a big toe box, zero drop. We don't want any heel. So because I've worn regular shoes, we have to go through this exercise process, but eventually you won't have to. Okay. Guys, this is for your nervous system. Do these things. Do them pick up for you? Yes.
How do you feel about doing like full planks?
Love them. Love them. Yep. Are you doing? Yep. Okay. Okay. I like it. The side plank is better though. The transitioning from front plank to side is the. Those are good. All right, guys, we're behind, so we got to get cooking here. All right, so last thing, Dr. Callahan's about to take the floor. You're gonna have to, we're behind.
It's all right. We'll be good.
A concept I got to touch on really quick. This is important. This is new. You guys all need to know this. Has anybody heard of the cell danger response? Has anybody? Any of the bragging crowd over here heard of the cell danger response? I put it in the notes. There's a whole link to this. This is new medicine and new science. So there's been a lot of confusion on like why people have autoimmune issues. Why are we aging faster than we used to? Alzheimer's, like all of these weird conditions, everything's through the roof. And they found the mechanism that's causing it in the body at a cellular level. And it's called the cell danger response. So in your cell, we spoke about mitochondria, right? Mitochondria make ATP. ATP is the fuel source for the cell, okay? If this cell comes in contact with a toxin or like too much sugar, or it's an environment that it's not evolutionary evolved to, it will do this cell danger response and it will release ATP into the interstitial fluid. It will release ATP out of the cell, which never happens in a normal cell, guys. It is usually 1 million ATP inside to like 1 ATP outside. It's a 1,000,000-to-1 ratio. When this ATP exits the cell, because it's so rare, it never happens, the immune system shows up and you have an immune response. You have inflammation, you have natural-born killer cells, you have cytokine response, and it causes all these weird things to happen in that tissue. Because when the immune system shows up, it goes, I don't know why I'm here, so I'm just going to hang out here. this is so important, guys, with aging. We do not want this to happen in our body. So has anybody ever ate bad food and your joints hurt? That's what that was.
Especially when you eat out.
That's the immune response. Your cells are dumping out ATP because you're exposing your cells to, like, let's just say, like fried food. Your cells did not evolve with fried food. It doesn't know what the hell that is. That environment is so foreign to it. Is everybody with me? I'm serious. So it gives you this weird response, and your immune system starts going to those areas because it's been exposed to those things. Okay? So Dr. Kelly, what's that?
Could that also have something to do with allergies? If somebody has allergies, it's
You know what?
response.
I don't know specifically on that. I know when I eat bad, I will get weird allergic stuff. Where they really found this out, they couldn't understand why people that had poor metabolic health got sinusitis all the time. That's how they discovered this. The sinusitis was from this response, and this is how they observed it in science and found out about it. Then they found out it happened in all the body's tissues, but they discovered it in the sinus cavity. Yep. It is. There's a whole, it's the last thing that's tagged in the article. Yep.
Okay, so we can't just do toe exercises and go to bed. We got to do some stuff here. So, and especially you front rowers, you could probably do this part for sure. But mindset's the most important thing with this. And that's why we've talked mostly about mindset so far. Now, this is probably the section you guys are least excited about. Some people love nutrition, but most people, especially if you look on a day-to-day basis, it's not something that a lot of people in this country just excel at naturally. It's not just, I only like to eat healthy food. That's not many people we come into contact with. Most people have terrible cravings. Most people eat too much. Most people have weird feelings about food. So this is kind of a hefty subject, no pun intended. But let's just get into it because we don't want to overcomplicate this. If you ever come into contact with a health professional that makes health extremely complicated, run away. Run away. Because it's not that complicated. Now, I'm not talking about your specific case. There could be nuances. There could be things you've been through in your life. There could be injuries. You could have genetic disorders. That's where things can get complicated. But when it comes to somebody who's talking to everybody, if it's extremely complex, something's off. If you can't explain something simply, then you don't understand it yourself. So I want you guys to be able to explain this simply. What do you eat, Mom? What do you eat, Dad? What should I eat, Grandma? It's quick. It's easy. So let's get into this. I don't know if is this your phone, Cameron? Mm-hmm. There we go. This is a simple way to put it. Food by God versus food by man. I'm willing to bet the average American diet is mainly made up of this. It's called the SAD diet, the standard American diet. So what is food by God? That top one is very, very important. If you can't read that, that says food grown in fertile soil.
Is there any of that left in Earth?
It's tough, right? We talk about global warming. We talk about the oceans rising. We are going to run out of soil way before we run out of anything else that's going to be a detriment to our health or our society. It is the fastest depleting resource that we need to live. We'll still have oil and we won't have soil to grow any food on. That's why it matters where your food comes from. That's why it's at the top. Where does it come from? What does that affect? What does the soil affect in the food? Everything about it. It cannot have something in it that it did not get from somewhere else. It's physically impossible. Just like you can't have something in you that you did not get from something you ate. You are what you eat, so to speak. Pure, clean water. Local food, organic food, whole sprouts, cracked, soaked, fermented grains, fat, naturally raised animals, full fat dairy, vitamins, minerals, even natural sweeteners at a minimum. Fermented vegetables, unrefined salt, herbs, spices, raw living foods, cook outside of a microwave sometimes. And how we think about food. Is it just because we want to eat it, or are we actually enjoying the process? Are we enjoying cooking? Are we enjoying consuming that food? Are we praying over our meal? Are we understanding that that food is actually going to give us life? And it's extremely important where it came from, what's in it, and how we think about it. Go ahead.
It's important to savor your food as well.
I had a health nut for a nutrition teacher in chiropractic school. And I mean, this guy, that's all he did. He ran a clinic for people. He fasted them. He taught them what they ate. And that's all he did. And the first thing he said is how you chew your food is going to be crucial in how it's going to enter your body and the nutrients you're going to get from it. You chew your food until it is completely unrecognizable in your mouth, until it's pretty much liquid form. That's the first step. 30 chews? Oh my gosh. I'd lose count. Yeah. Yeah. It's important. So then we have everything else, which is, this is what we're being fed, guys. This is what our kids eat. If you eat out, this is what you're getting. So there are these are all kind of rules of thumb. So even that slide right there, if you just said, I'm going to do that, it's drastically going to change your health. And, we're not talking about weight loss. We're not even talking about energy or how you look or how you feel. This is just common knowledge that everybody knows, but sometimes people really struggle to do it. That's why when we talk about stuff like this, mindset has to be first and foremost. Some people say, I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat because I'm going to die anyways. I'm not going to live forever anyways. And I've sat here and watched this group, and trust me, we talk to all our patients about this longevity thing. And I'll tell you what, even in this building, the patients we talk to, there are a lot of different opinions on growing old. Some people are excited about it. Some people could care less about growing old. Now, why do you guys think that is? Why do you guys think some people don't want to live to 90 or 95? Maybe they're miserable and they think another 30 years of this, good God. Or maybe they've watched somebody else live to 80 and it wasn't pretty. So your life experiences are shaping the choices that you're making right now. And you have to be aware of that. So when I wrap this up, I want to walk you through something to help shape a healthy way to view aging. Because here's the thing, guys, we're not living forever. And we don't know how long we're going to live, no matter what we do. That's not what it's about. Just because we don't know how long we're going to live and we know it's not going to be forever, that doesn't mean we throw our hands up, right? There's still a lot that is just plain to knowledge that we can do. Here's how it starts. This is your first focus. Change your meat and your dairy. Don't start buying organic vegetables and crummy meat if you're on a budget. Flip it around. Get the cheapest vegetables you can find and invest your money in meat, eggs, and dairy. Why? You're eating another animal. How that animal was raised, how it was fed, what it's living off of is going to go right into you. It's not quite it's not as important with vegetables and fruits or the sugar you're buying. Don't spend money on organic sugar and buy crummy beef. You have a question?
Yes. I'm having a really hard time finding chickens.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Help me out. Organic chicken to eat. Yeah. I don't want to get the one at the bone broth place because I don't want the full. I'd like to get the breasts and stuff like that. It's just really having a hard time.
Yeah, and it should be hard. Here's the thing. Everything we're talking about, whether it's working with your toes, your posture, sleep, it's all work. It's work. And
If it was easier.
what is diabetes, cancer, and heart disease? It's work. No, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. It sucks. If you've watched somebody go through that, even if they thought they didn't care and they threw caution to the wind their whole life, when that happens, you're still working. You're working just to stay alive. Maybe your mindset changes, and then it's really tough to change at that point. It's all work. Finding the right meat, finding the right chiropractor, finding the right place to live, finding the right stuff to use in your own home that's not toxic and going to kill you. It's work. But the lie is that the other way is easy. It might be a little easier right now, but the work's coming. So we have to think clearly about this stuff. So rule of thumb is if you can't find it, cut it out. So if you can't find that, something you're comfortable eating, don't substitute
I
it.
just didn't know if there was a place, I mean, do you know? of any
Farmers
places?
markets. Farmers markets in this area of the country, we've got good laws for it, and they are thriving. You can go get frozen chickens whole. You can get, and they're in every little town. Every town has a farmer's market. Figure out where it is. Go build a relationship with the person that you're getting your eggs or chicken from, or beef, whatever it might be. It's even if it doesn't have the label on it that says organic, if it doesn't have the label on it that says grass-fed, if it doesn't have the label on it that says humanely raised, that is all going to be a bunch of BS very quick anyways. It's already getting there. But if you can see the person and look them in the face and even say, hey, do you mind if I come out and look at your farm? They would love that. And you could go see how these animals are raised. That's better than any label you can get. So yeah, sometimes you got to shop different places. And typically there's not one place that you can get everything. Okay. Oh, let me go back to that. You were taking a picture of that. So get rid of your dirty dozen. What is the dirty dozen? These are the things, we don't want to just get rid of them if you're buying these inorganically. These are the dirtiest raised crops. They use the most pesticides, the most herbicides, the most artificial fertilizers to get them to you. These are the ones that it is worth buying organic. Don't buy organic potatoes if you don't have to. Don't buy organic onions. Where are those grown?
The dirt.
In the dirt, underneath the ground. So they don't really need to put a bunch of stuff on them. Is organic better with those? Yes. Organic non-GMO is always better. But sometimes we got to make some decisions. So these are the ones that if you're on a budget, you're planning this out. And here's the thing, guys. Food is stinking expensive. It's crazy expensive. So you've got to know where to put your money, or else, if you just bought organic everything, you're going to go broke or starve to death if you're on a budget. So sometimes you need to pick your battles here. So these are, heavily sprayed. And they're also, where do these come from a lot of times, especially like in the winter?
Mexico.
Long ways away. They're sprayed with certain things to flash ripen them. Nitrogen gases to make a green tomato turn red because it's green the whole way. You can't, imagine shipping a ripe tomato across the world and then it shows up at the grocery store and it looks perfect. So that doesn't make any sense at all. No bugs, no bruises. No, it's shipped hard green. And then they get here and they put gas on it and makes it go red. So these are the ones you want to swap out for sure. Okay. Change animal products first. I've talked about this a little bit. These are the terms that you want to see when you buy these, if you're in a grocery store. This is usually not news to anybody. Grass-fed beef. Why is grass-fed beef better than corn-raised beef?
Because they're supposed to make grass.
So they're naturally designed to eat grass. Now, some people say, well, corn's a grass. It's a seed on a grass. Corn is highly genetically modified. We have, as humans, have taken, like, if you watch grass grow and it gets kind of tall, it gets a little seed on it, right? Over thousands of years, we have taken that and turned it into this giant ear of corn. So corn is a grass. It's a giant seed head it is the most genetically and human modified plant on the globe. It's nothing like it would exist in nature. So we want animals to eat what they're supposed to eat and be raised how they're supposed to eat. Free range is what you want with chicken and eggs. Wild caught fish is what you want if you're eating fish. Natural source of dairy, and even dairy, grass-fed. Grass-fed dairy. If you can find A2, even better. A2 is really what all cows used to be. That's the protein they produce. There's A1 and A2. A2, people have very, very little issue digesting it. All lactose intolerance has really come from A1 milk proteins from one type of cow, a Holstein cow, and that's because they make the most amount of milk. So that's what everybody used to produce the most amount of milk, and everybody became lactose intolerant.
Where do you find A2 milk?
You can get it at Brahms.
Brahms.
You get it at every grocery store.
Get it at Costco.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta
Yeah.
look for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and 10 years ago, guys, we would have said A2 milk and we'd have to get it from Mars. But now you can get it just about anywhere. So we have some, what's that?
And that's okay?
Yeah. I want to see more grass-fed A2 milk in every single grocery store. Because that means there's a shift. Okay, there's a shift. Because where does that have to come from? I know what type of place that has to come from. It's completely different than the skim milk that's right next to it. Completely different process. Completely different raising of that animal. Completely different consideration into the breeding of that animal. It's completely different. And it is growing. So that's why these things are excited. Go ahead.
How can you trust that? Because I've even heard where they mask the ingredients, bioengineered now versus GMO, and you get it and you really don't know. So how can you really be guaranteed that that's
the only way you're really going to know is if you shake the person's hand that you're getting it from. That's the only way.
From like dairy milk to coconut and almond. What's your thoughts on
So the right dairy milk is going to be superior to any plant-based milk. Now, this is where you can get off a lot. This is where, like when somebody says, well, I heard red meat causes cardiovascular disease. That might be true, but if you're eating a steak from Golden Skillet and it's raised from, in the worst possible way in the world, fed the worst possible stuff, it's going to kill anybody that eats that 5 times a day. So same thing with milk. Yes, maybe the worst cow's milk, it's going to be better to go coconut or almond milk, especially organic. Great, right? But it's still not going to hold a candle to the nutritional density of A2 organic grass-fed cow's milk. And that's something that we are losing in the nutritional conversation. Everybody wants to talk about your macros, your fat, your protein. People will even talk about organic and non-GMO, but people are not talking about nutrient density. And that is not something that's even on the label. There's not going to be micronutrients on the label, and there's not going to be minerals on the label. But they can test it, and they know. And there's big differences across the board. That's why organic and non-GMO matter so much. They are just naturally going to be more nutrient dense. And we are a starving country. We are one of the most obese countries in the world with the lowest amount of nutrition in our diet. Very high calorie, very low nutrition. And that does not equal longevity, right?
How about raw milk?
Even better. Yeah,
Full fat.
What about goat milk?
for sure. Anything with teats. In the back first.
I like my goat milk.
Yeah. I don't know how they're coming up with that, increased protein in Fairlife. But it's not grass-fed. It's not organic typically. They might have some of those lines. But, milk is something that's kind of gone back and forth. And And I mean, there's a heavy history in milk production in this country. It's vastly different now than what it used to be. After World War II, it changed everything. We had to ship a ton of condensed milk and dry milk to our soldiers to keep them alive. And then when the war ended, we have tons of dairies producing tons of milk, and we didn't know what to do with it. So then, what did they tell everybody to do for breakfast? Drink milk. Strong Bones, Got Milk campaign, cereal, all because we had to have something for all these people that were helping out and making all these dairies. So then we had this mass production of milk, and then we had to sustain it somehow. But now we've got a very poor product that we're continuing to make and force everybody to drink as an only option. But now that's changing. Okay, we're going to move on. We're getting through this. Fats. I want you guys to think of, when you think of cardiovascular disease and you think of your diet, what are the first two things you think of?
High fructose corn
Ooh.
syrup.
So she said high fructose corn syrup. That is not what people typically think of when they think of cardiovascular disease. What do people typically, like if you're going to the doctor and you're going to get a check, yeah, some type of triglyceride, cholesterol. And then you think, okay, well, where does that stuff come from? If you get stuck in a vein and they test your blood and you have high cholesterol, how are you going to change that? So you can take a pill.
More fat.
You can try and change your diet. Now, here's the thing. Where does cholesterol come from?
You make it.
Yeah. 80% of it comes from your liver. Does not come from what you eat. That's why people have such a hard time dietarily removing cholesterol from their diet and then seeing a result in their blood test. So what does cholesterol do? Why does our liver produce cholesterol? Cholesterol is fantastic. Cholesterol has actually not really been proven to have anything to do with cardiovascular disease.
Isn't there a good and a bad?
There's HDL and there's LDL. But cholesterol is the precursor, the building block of every hormone in your body. Cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, you name it, thyroid hormone. It has to be made from cholesterol. And when you stress and you go through high levels of hormone production, what do you think your liver does? More cholesterol. But then you get a test that it says your cholesterol is too high. So then you take a pill to lower that cholesterol when your body's trying to keep up with the life you're living. And it gets blamed for the cardiovascular disease when it's never really been tied to it at all. And then they tell you to don't eat it and don't eat fat either. Because it's kind of like cholesterol. No butter. What kind of oil should you use according to the American Heart Association? Canola, soybean. So it's we want to avoid that. Okay? So canola is made from a rapeseed. So we could talk for hours about cholesterol because this is a huge issue for a lot of people. We get this question asked a lot. Cholesterol lowering medications is one that we can confidently say you're not going to get hurt from not taking that. It's tough. That's a tough conversation to have. But you're going to feel a ton better if you stop taking it, and your brain's going to live longer if you stop taking it. And your hormones are going to be better for it if you stop taking it.
Isn't that the source for Alzheimer's, really? Yeah. Removing cholesterol from your diet?
So we have, so imagine if you're somebody that's 50 plus years old in this room. It's a whole generation, really 40 plus, that has for the past 40 years, we've tried to wipe out cholesterol and fat from our whole society. And look at us. We're fatter than ever. We have more dementia and Alzheimer's than ever. Cardiovascular deaths haven't gone anywhere. Cancer's sticking right where it is. And we're just blasting everybody's cholesterol, lowering everybody's cholesterol. And we haven't been paid back one bit for it. You are just as likely to die from a heart attack with low cholesterol as you are with high cholesterol. That's just the truth.
They say some of the statin drugs are anti-inflammatories.
Eat your butter.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
So let's talk about advanced plan. Who's heard the word advanced plan before? Okay, so advanced plan is the dietary recommendations if there's anything you want to change. Something about the way you look, the way you feel, a medication you're taking, a diagnosis you've been given, sleep, mood, skin issues, attention deficit stuff. So these are all indications that you need to get your body into a healing state instead of an inflammatory survival state. And that's what the advanced plan does. This is it in a nutshell. Advanced plan is no grains. This is a toughie for a lot of people. People like oatmeal, they like bread. Now, this is advanced plan. This is if there's stuff you're trying to change. I would remove breads. I would remove crackers. I would remove noodles. Now, why? Why?
Because inflammatory response.
It's very high in sugar, simple sugars. As soon as that carbohydrate hits the saliva in your mouth, amylase turns it right to glucose. A piece of toast will raise your blood sugar more than a Snickers bar will.
Whole grain.
Whole grain, nuts in it, raises it even more. A white piece of bread would raise it even less.
Why is there the sourdough kick?
Because sourdough is made from moms around the country, and
It's fermented.
no, it's a better version of bread. It is. It's got more health benefits to it. It's more nutrient dense. It's less processed. So it is a better version. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't need to reduce inflammation, who doesn't need to lose weight, maybe you're maintaining, you're liking where you can start adding in some of those healthy grains. What you want to add in is fats. This is the most commonly the most missing nutrient in our diet is going to be fat. Yeah, butter, coconut oil, grapeseed oil, ghee, real fat from an animal. It's good for you, especially if it comes from a good animal. Tallow, yes. Avoid those damaged fats. These are like what we've talked about. Canola, corn, soybean, peanut. I can't believe it's not butter, margarine. These are all synthetic, rancid fats that actually just, they do exactly what they claim animal fats do. They raise your inflammation, which in turn leads to atherosclerosis, not cholesterol. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Low sugar fruits and berries. So what are those? Anybody know some low sugar, low glycemic index fruits? So berries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries.
Organic strawberries.
Some like grapefruit, lemon, that type of stuff. These are they're going to raise your blood sugar very little. Sugars and carbs, eliminate grains, sugars, and fruit. Granny Smith apple is going to be one of higher in fiber, lower in sugar. Protein. Get your protein in check. This is the animal sources. This is a protein powder you're using. Do not skimp on those. Fats, remove bad fats, replace them with good ones. So you got to ask yourself right now, are you a sugar burner or a fat burner? This is what 90% of Americans are. This is the way we're designed to live. We're designed to run on fat as fuel. There's nothing wrong with picking up some berries and getting a quick hit of glucose. Our muscles burn that efficiently. It's gone. Fat sticks around forever, it seems like, right? But it's supposed to be like that. Fat is that energy source that our body wants to hang on to because it loves to use it when we need it. The problem is we're only able to burn the sugar because we're taking it at such a high rate. We're shoveling it in. Our body's got to keep us alive because high blood sugar is bad, right? It can kill you. So our body is busy burning the sugar. And your body stops burning fat. So you want to switch that. Cut the sugar out, raise the fat, and it starts to switch you over. Now, we tested some blood sugar earlier. And the reason why we did that, guys, in doing research for this, that was the most common theme we saw in every research article. And the next best thing that's coming out for longevity or anti-aging, it's how your body responds to sugar. How well are you at processing sugar quickly, getting it out of your bloodstream? So, what's it called when you're very, very poor at processing sugar? Diabetes. Diabetes. That's when you've essentially broken the mechanism in your body of eating dietary sugar, carbohydrate, and it flushing your blood and insulin going out and grabbing it and taking it out of your bloodstream. That part is broken. So you need some type of assistance to do so. Your body becomes resistant to the insulin that it's producing. It tries to produce more and more insulin, and you don't get it. Now, here's what's rough. There's a lot of people that are not diabetic. There's a lot of people that are pre-diabetic. And there's a lot of people that have an issue regulating their blood sugar and have no idea. So if you don't have one of those testers at home and you're concerned about longevity and how well you're aging, this is something that naturally doesn't get better as you age. Typically, it gets tougher for your body to process sugar as you age. So this is something you want to be able to monitor. Now, why it's bad. Blood sugar after meal that is continuously outside the normal range can lead to major blood vessel and body tissue damage. It damages your arteries. What's one of the number one health concerns for somebody with diabetes?
Kidney failure.
Before that,
heart disease.
Heart disease, cardiovascular event. I mean, your chances of a cardiovascular, once you receive that diagnosis of diabetes, it is really a matter of time before there's a stroke or a cardiovascular event. Because we know your body has had high levels of blood sugar up and down. And I'm going to talk to you about even if you're regulating it, it doesn't get you out of jail free from this here in a minute. So what this does, that damage creates toxic compounds called advanced glycation end product, AGEs. They're proteins or lipids that are tagged with glucose molecules, and as a result of continuous exposure to high sugar levels, AGEs accelerate the aging process by depleting your body's antioxidant stores. We talk about detox all the time. We talk about antioxidants, eating that healthy stuff. Yes, but if you are struggling to control your blood sugar, and that's why it's important to know if you're somebody who's struggling to control blood sugar, you're producing toxins on your own and you're struggling to detoxify. So you need to check that out before you spend a ton of money on like a detox program or something like that. You need to see, am I somebody who can process blood sugar the way it's supposed to? Now, these also wreak havoc in the body by damaging DNA and lead to the development or worsening of many diseases, including diabetes, atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, kidney disease, and Alzheimer's disease. This is why some of the most natural health practitioners who say, I'm never going to take a medication, I'm going to work out 7 days a week, and I'm going to look great, feel great, but there is one thing, according to research, medically, that I will do. I'll start taking this in my 20s. They'll start taking metformin. Because they see that the evidence in the research is so clear that if you can just keep your blood sugar balanced, you're going to live so much longer. Right?
Yeah.
So they're willing to kind of, okay, I'm going to jeopardize my morals on that just because I know that if I can, the research says, if I can keep a smooth level of blood sugar, it reduces my risk of dying from like everything. That is why we talk about nutrition. That is why we talk about exercise. When you do these things, you become better at processing carbohydrates. You're going to eat carbohydrates. There's some in like everything you eat. And you need to be able to process them. You need to be able to eat a donut and not get extremely sick. You need that sensitivity to insulin. Now, you don't get that way by practicing. You don't get that way by eating donuts every single day, right? But you still need that ability of your body. You shouldn't be afraid to eat a cookie. That means there's something completely broken in your body. And that's going to lead to other issues other than just needing to stay away from sugar. So this is normal. So most of you, we told, eat a couple hours before you come in and get tested. Now, there's fasting. So there's different levels, and this is what's great. You can see, so like if you're somebody who wants to eat sourdough, test your blood sugar, and see how your body does with it. If it's out of the norm, because there's a 1 hour norm too, which is after eating. This is postprandial, which is after eating, but it's 2 hours. There's one you can test your blood sugar right after you eat a meal, 30 minutes after you eat a meal, and see how your body did with that meal. And you can form your own dietary plan based, like you might do great with rice, may not raise your blood sugar whatsoever, but you might eat something that you like, some tortilla chips at the Mexican restaurant, and you test your blood sugar and it's through the roof. And you're like, holy cow, I didn't know that was wreaking havoc on because if it goes up, it causes damage, period. Doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, it produces the AGEs that stick around for a long time. They cause cancer, they cause atherosclerosis. Now here's diabetes, here's treated diabetes, here's where we want to be. Okay, so this is your blood glucose, a very simplified chart. This is untreated diabetes, so this is what happens. You get too toxic in glucose. And then your body fights and fights, it gets it down. You eat again, you get way too toxic. And high peaks, low lows. This is when you just crash after eating, and then you have no energy because you haven't eaten. It's these very, very strong up and downs. This is not what we want. What's typical here, though, this person's going to get a diagnosis of pre-diabetes or diabetes. And they're going to take a medication to help them respond to the food they're eating. Now, what they have seen is, even though we have a patient that's been on good medication for 10, 20 years, they still have the same risk for atherosclerosis and cardiovascular events. So they're saying, how is this happening? Well, they're still spending most of their time in a suboptimal level of blood sugar. They even spend time down here where it's too low. So they have very little time where it's right. So this is kind of not ideal. That's why you can't just say, well, I'm just going to take a medication to balance out my blood sugar and I'll be good. I'll take more if I eat more. It's a dangerous way, but that's how a lot of people live. I'll go to the party, I'll just pump in more. And you're just up and down. It'll keep you from dying right now. But here's the thing. A lot of times, especially we live in extremes. Well, I don't have diabetes. First of all, how do you know? Second of all, diabetes is like the end of the road. It's a disease. Disease shows up after you've struggled doing a normal function of life for years and years and years. Don't wait until you have a diagnosis. That's why it's important to look at this stuff now. Plus, this is what they're saying. This has everything to do with skin aging, heart attacks, cancer, longevity. It's blood sugar levels. How well your body's able to stay right here in the green zone. The exercise, the nutrition recommendations, the sleeping, it all helps you stay here. It's not sugar-free cookies. Stay away from sugar-free stuff. It is some of the most toxic food on the planet.
What is the number there?
It's what it'd be 140 or below. It just depends on what stage you're measuring it. Any questions about that? Because, I mean, blood sugar is a big deal. Now I'm going to talk about mindset again. We'll talk about mindset multiple times in any talk. But I know there's some people in this room, or people you know, people that you're going to go home to and maybe talk about some of the stuff we've talked about here. And they're going to say, bah. You know, what about what's her face who smoked 6 packs a day and lived to 90 and was happy as a clam? Right? That's the exception. And there's also people that do everything right and they die of a heart attack. It's seemingly they did everything right, right? So here's the thing. Nobody's saying you get to control the day you die. No, don't listen to anybody who says that, right? But you do get to control how you live. And there's an analogy that makes sense to me. There might be some people in the room that have dealt with batteries before. Okay, so what are the 2 main types of batteries right now? Like if you went to go buy batteries for your flashlight, what are the 2 choices you get at the grocery store or the hardware store? Lithium or alkaline. Okay, which one's like twice as expensive as the other one? The lithium's twice as expensive. Why?
That's what they say.
Everybody says they last longer. They don't last any longer. What's that? So they're lighter. So like that's what's in a Tesla. It's going to be a lithium battery. They're lighter. They withstand heat and cold better. But you guys are still missing their main benefit.
Constant charge longer.
So here we go.
Energy production.
So the way they produce energy is much better, even though they might last. So you're going to have some light coming out of your flashlight the exact same amount of time. But watch this. They're both going to start at the same place too. You've got your alkaline and your lithium battery. They start right here. Okay. So here's 100% power. That's where we're born, right? Okay. And they're both going to end up down here. Dead batteries. Okay. The alkaline's going to have a smooth arc down. So when you're halfway through your alkaline battery, you have half power flashlight. Okay? Which still works, but it's kind of a pain in the butt, right? But if you get lithium batteries, its power arc is like this. So you get full power until the very end. So here's the question. If you had to pick one of these to represent how your life's going to go, it's pretty easy, right? You can see why one's more valuable. Well, when we look at other cultures, this is much more normal, right? This is where the nursing homes come in. This is where the I don't want to live to 90 comes in, because I've watched that skid. This is where I'm not 20 years old anymore comes from. This is where, I guess it's just part of being 40. Once I turned 40, everything was downhill from there. All these common 40. I feel good at 40. But you guys see, so this is a mindset shift. This is much more, when you look, like if you watch that documentary, the people that lived to 100, yes, they died. But when they were 99, they were walking to see their friends. They were walking to go have a cup of coffee with somebody. They weren't lying in a nursing home for 20 years. It's completely different. And if you think there's no difference or you have no control over that, that's a problem. You don't have control over when this is going to be, but you can affect that arc. You can affect how this process is going to play out. You guys have seen it. And I know sometimes we're preaching to the choir here. But this helps me understand that, my goal is not to live forever. It's not to pick the day I die. But even if I died right here, let's say something happened, car accident or something right there, I'm full power. Right? I mean, can you imagine, and this is when people get pissed right here. They're like, I'm 50 and I'm already pissed about how I feel. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So that's why we fight. We fight to stay up here as long as possible, because it is possible. But it has to do mainly with mindset.
Toe exercises.
Yeah. Don't forget the big toe. Yeah, I know. You might as well take a seat here. So I left this slide in because we're not going to get into toxins. Because we've done whole workshops on toxins before, detoxing. I think it's completely foolish to do any type of detox program if you don't know what your blood sugar is doing. Blood sugar will produce more toxins in your body if it's not regulated properly than anything you could eat, breathe, or consume, especially long term. There are people that are 20 years old that have issues regulating their blood sugar. They don't know, and they won't know for another 20 or 30 years. I mean, those tests, they're $30. You can test it 3 times a day after you eat and see how you're doing. So what is A1C? What's the difference between that and A1C? Supposedly, A1C is the average of that over the past 3 months. So it takes all pre-eating, post-eating, sleeping, fasting, and it's a marker to try and tell you this is your average over the past 3 months. So it's an easy way. It's a test that's harder to do at home, and it's easier for the doctor to do. Go ahead.
How can they do a A1C with one blood draw on one day and whatever, and you think they're gonna get an average?
Science. I don't know. Yeah.
Your blood cells last a certain amount of time, and it's the amount of sugar that's stuck to the blood cell.
Yeah, so they look at
Percentage.
kind of its carrying capacity over that past 3 months, which it's a valid test. But I'm just saying, you can do this at home and monitor this yourself. And the best part about it is you can see how your body responds to different food. You don't have to pay an influencer to build you a diet. Thousands of dollars, a nutrition coach. You can go buy a blood test for $30 and test that all the stuff you like to eat. And you might find that, hey, I do really darn good with a sandwich. But you might find you do really, really bad with something else, with rice. But that's beneficial knowledge to know, because then you can still get good nutrients in without crushing your blood sugar. That's it for me.
All right, I'm going to close up, guys. We got 5 minutes. So was this talk beneficial? You guys feel like you learned? So people need to hear this. So why I'm bringing this up is, like, we don't know who you know. If you got a place of work, we can do this longevity talk. We can make it shorter. Somehow we can make this shorter. At your church, we will do it where 2 people meet. And if you give us information of somewhere you work, somewhere you worship, or somebody be interested in people living longer, you just go see Andrea. What's that? She's handed these out. So you guys have these. Write down anywhere we could speak. We'll bring food. We'll bring healthy food. And if you guys turn these in today, you can choose between one of our Stanley cups. We'll give this to you, or a new T-shirt. We got all sizes. Yeah. So we want to reward individuals that are spreading this message of longevity. And if we do get a talk and we actually deliver it, we'll give you guys $100 towards any supplements. Yeah. So we want to reward. That's good behavior. Sharing the word. I know it can be like Dr. Kellen is saying, you could take this information, maybe even people that live in your own home, and it can be difficult to communicate this. Have us communicate it. Have the doctors communicate it. We've read all the articles. We have all the authority. I can argue, I've shared this with some of you guys. My neighborhood is, it's 8 homes, 6 of them are medical doctors in my neighborhood. We have some fun barbecues. It's a lot of fun. They did not like me at first. They love me now, and they ask for advice now. But they had to get to know me. I was a crazy chiropractor at first, okay? But I'm willing to have hard conversations. It does not bother me one bit. Not at all. So if you want to get these free gifts, let us know where we can speak. All right, 5 minutes, guys. We are going to end with best supplements for longevity. I'm going to line them up in order of importance. Okay? So, most important supplements. Any guesses? Fish oil, number one. Cardiovascular health, anti-inflammation, healthy fat. What did our ancestors eat? Fish. You do not have to take this if you eat 2 to 4 servings of fish a week. Does anybody eat that? If you do, if you guys do, if you guys eat 2 to 4 servings of fish a week consistently, you can take this off your list. But I do not. Okay? A lot of people don't like eating fish, but our ancestors would eat wild game and fish, which was loaded with omega-3s. Grass-fed beef is, but even with that, fish oil is number one. Number two, most important, is vitamin D3. The darker your complexion, the more important this is. Okay? Least important for blonde people with red hair, at the least, and then all the way to dark complected individuals whose ancestors came from Africa. That is the most important for you. Okay? This is also paired with a probiotic. I'm sorry. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Thank you. This is huge in that cell damage response process. Vitamin D3 is huge in that process. Okay. Number three, most important. This is a tie between B vitamins, magnesium, and a multivitamin. Okay. These are tied for 3. It depends. Why does it depend? Do you have a history of eating a lot of sugar? If you do, magnesium is the most important for you. It's been magnesium and sugar work opposite. They deplete each other. Okay? So magnesium's huge. It's important for digestion. It's important for sleep. It's important for neurological function. B vitamins. This is very important for me. Has anybody got the DNA genetic testing for MTHFR? I have two mutations. You do as well? That means Dr. Callahan most likely has mutations. Have you gotten the test yet? This is so important. It's a methylated B vitamin. So genetically, we cannot eat processed food, and we need methylated vitamins for our body's processes to work properly. If I don't take this and I eat processed food, I do really poorly. Do you do really poorly as well? Low energy, more prone to more diseases, more prone to advanced aging. So this is really important for me. And then just a multivitamin, which is like a cover your A. This has all the micronutrients, all the vitamins that we don't get in our food because of, does anybody want to tell me why we need to take a multivitamin? What is depleted? The soil. So if you got really good soil, maybe you don't need this, but I cover my A with this because our soil, we know this. We found old apples that were preserved from like 500 years ago, and they had 20 times the nutrient content of an apple today. We know this.
I heard over the weekend the apples that we buy are already a year old.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
you just ruined my evening. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
On the multivitamins, that if you are a consistent multivitamin taker, that decreases your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's.
That makes sense. Okay, guys. These are all in this. This is our essentials packet. I think we have a couple of these left, but this is all the most important ones in one packet. But that is the order that I recommend. And if it's like for budget concerns, if it's a budget concern, you can buy one supplement and you don't eat fish, I would buy fish oil. That would be the only thing I get. I'm just that's what's going to prevent you from dying. Okay. Let's go to the bonuses. Who's heard of Pronac or NAC? Big, huge. It's huge. The research is still pouring out on it. It's a glutathione booster. Has ever heard of glutathione? It's your body's strongest antioxidant. I have added this into my daily recommendation. You know it's good if it smells bad. It should smell like sulfur. We get this from like cruciferous vegetables. That's why we eat cruciferous vegetables, is to boost glutathione. This is part of my daily supplement recommendation. This is not daily, but this is after vacation and after Dr. Cameron has been bad. I've been that little boy, the little rascal. This is Cell Repair, which is a liver detox. So it's milk thistle, all the things you need for like a bat. You go on vacation, you go on a cruise. Am I the only one that goes on a cruise and then feels like this is what I'm going to take after that? I'm not going to take this all the time. Okay, Cell Repair, super powerful. What's that? I did a month's supply. I would just do a month and then I'm done. And then if I'm real bad, I'm going to pair it with the detox system, which is another glutathione booster and activated charcoal and magnesium. I do not take these all the time. These are for after Christmas, for after vacations, or like I've been really stressed out, because when you're stressed, you create free radicals. So I've been like really stressful work cycle, or my kid's not sleeping. I feel run down. I'm going to do this for a short time, but not all the time. I do these all the time. Okay. Lastly is powders. The most important powders are a greens powder and some type of protein. If you're going to do one nutritional thing, I think the lowest hanging fruit is replacing a meal with a greens and protein shake. You take something that could be potentially dangerous for you in a meal, like a bad meal, bad breakfast, bad lunch, and replace it with a superfood. I think that trade-off is enormous. So if you are into smoothies or you make a smoothie, make sure greens in it. Whey protein is better for you. Honestly, if you have digestive issues, I like the bone broth protein or a history of any type of digestive issues. But whey is it's just better for your metabolism. It boosts your glutathione higher. So I would recommend whey if you can tolerate it. That's the way. Lastly, my exercisers. If you exercise and sweat, I would recommend a electrolyte. We like Element, but there's other ones that are great. And then if you're exercising consistently, I would take creatine. 5 grams to 10 grams. It's got no side effects to little. The only side effects it has, it can cause some loose stools. The research out on creatine, it protects your brain. It's really good for muscle production. And remember, as we age, we want to keep muscle as long as we can. Okay. All supplements are 20% off tonight, guys. Everything, 20%. If you want to take advantage of that, get after it. What questions do we have on supplementation? Yes. This one, the full one, I think it's 100. So you get, if you did this, you get one of these for free, if that makes sense. You get one of the pills for free. You get vitamin D for free.
But with the 20%, you're going to get.
So we love giving you guys discounts and coming to talks. I would do higher if my office manager would let me get discount more. I love that you guys, and I just want to end on this. Like, you guys are not, it is not normal for an American to sit in a longevity lecture on a Monday night and learn about longevity. I want to, like, I'm talking, like, that is not normal, guys. You guys are not normal Americans, and that is a great thing. You guys are a step above. Like, to do this, do you guys want your doctors learning all the time, learning new stuff? I want you guys to be learning all the time. It makes our job so much more fulfilling and great when you guys are learning. So take advantage of the discounts. If you guys are a guest and you'd like to join the practice, or if you live far away, we'll find you a good practitioner that lives by you. That's not what's important, is that you find a good health provider that gets to the root cause of your issue and helps you, that doesn't do the work for you, but is a guide for you to make the best choices possible. You can join the practice at extreme discount tonight. Just let the girls know. We'll get you an appointment. All right?